Good morning and welcome to today's Morning Muses. I'm Pastor Doug Bronner, one of the pastors at Holy Cross Lutheran Church in Colorado Springs, Colorado. If it's your first time with us on these Monday Morning Muses, it's really good to have you here. I've had a great weekend. Besides the fact that Oregon won their third game in a row, they went undefeated in their non-conference games this year, and they only have to win one more game to tie their total wins for next year, as they only won four. Anyway, it was a good weekend, but that's not what really made this weekend special for me. It was our fifth annual, I think fifth, may have been fourth, but I think fifth annual men's retreat at Holy Cross, and what's making this retreat even more special is we're gaining men who are coming from other churches along the Front Range here in Kansas. It's great to have them join us. We had, I think, our highest total of men so far. We had 80 men that were registered to come. I don't think we had 80 there all at one time, as we had men who could come only for short portions of it. But Pastor Jeffrey Mines did an amazing job of leading us in our devotion in the evening and other devotion leaders in the morning. It was a great time. Unfortunately, I had to get back here to Colorado Springs on Saturday night and wasn't able to hear Pastor Jeffrey's last presentation to us. We dealt with Ezekiel 37, the dry bones chapter, and I really appreciated the time and the fellowship with men. So one of the things I did, as you can imagine, is I took my camera with me and did some picture taking. I wasn't able to do as much hiking as I normally would do because my back was kind of out of whack for me. But the best part of it was I took my new to me camera. It's an old camera. It's a medium format film camera that I just picked up a couple of weeks ago. It's a Bronica SQA, and I had never shot a medium format film camera before. And I had a roll of 12 exposure film with me, and it took me almost 2 hours to use up those 12 pictures, which is a lot different than shooting digital. You know, that's always special for me. I look forward to that. But what was really kind of fun about this retreat was fishing. I caught 25 trout, and one of them was really pretty good sized. I have the picture to prove it. Thanks, Bruce Bach, for sending that to me. And I caught others that were pretty good sized. It was a lot of fun catching those fish. And as I thought about that, I thought about, I knew what kind of trout it was. It had a name, right? It was a rainbow trout. All of the ones I caught were rainbow trout. And knowing its name meant I also knew kind of what it would taste like. And fortunately, I didn't keep any of those fish. I did catch and release the whole time, and kind of the water is a little bit muddy, and it probably would have tasted somewhat muddy. I like trout, but I know stuff about that fish because I know its name. As I was fishing, there was a hawk that was flying over above us over the woods, and it was making amazing noises, but I didn't know what kind of hawk it was. I didn't know its name. I knew it was a general category of raptors, which we call hawks, but I didn't know its name. Therefore, I didn't know much about its habitat. I didn't know much about its habits, its migration patterns, so forth, because I didn't know its name. Naming something helps us out a great deal. We want to know the name of something, don't we? So I've had the experience many times in my pastoral ministry where somebody is ill and they don't know what it is, and so they go through a series of tests, and there's this generalized anxiety that they feel because they don't know exactly what it is that they've got. And even when the diagnosis comes back as cancer, it's something that they can deal with now. There's a name to it. And even if they go more than just that general category of cancer, they may be able to name what kind of cancer it is, and then do research on it, ask the doctor more about it, find the source of treatment for it, and so forth. Naming things is extremely important to us. And naming things actually is a gift of God to us, and it's a way we reflect God. If you look at in the Bible, you look at Genesis chapters 1 and 2, you see that God is in the business of naming us. He named us human beings. And then he delegated the task of naming the creatures he had made to the man, to Adam. And he brings in chapter 2, we see this beautiful scene of the man naming all the animals but not finding a person suitable for him. But he names them, and in naming them, his world becomes more defined by the fact that he can name the creatures. Naming has a way of giving us power, but too often that power is used in a negative way. God intended it to be good, and God intended it for us as a way of reflecting Him. But you see, Genesis 1 and 2 come before the fall in chapter 3. And now in chapter 3 we still name, but we use names now in a much different way. And we can use names in a very derogatory way. I think all of us have been recipients of that kind of naming. I know I was. I mean, it goes way back to when we were in grade school, and I received a nickname in grade school that was quite derogatory. And I was pretty scrawny and small, not anything like I am today, but I would not get in fights very often. But if I remember one time specifically, a kid used my nickname, and I took a swing at him because it was a very hurtful name to me. We call people all sorts of names. We call them a hack. We call them an idiot. We call them a hypocrite. And in each one of those cases, when we name somebody that way, what we're doing is we're trying to elevate ourselves and put them down, right? You're a hypocrite. I'm not. You're an idiot. I'm not. You're a hack, and I'm not. I mean, that's the way we reference things, isn't it? It's a way for us to put somebody down in naming them, and it has great power. Naming somebody in that way has great power, and not necessarily for good. But we can also use naming today in a very positive way, to build each other up, to encourage each other by using names, not derogatory names, but names that might show a strength of character in a person. We might call somebody, well, you're really an encourager because I watch you with people and I see what you do. And immediately that naming them as an encourager changes something inside of them. And they may first be kind of embarrassed by that, and so forth. But naming is powerful. We do it every day probably. I don't know. I haven't really sat back and thought about that much, but I wonder if every day we name people, and that naming our children, not just their first name, how we use that name is important, but naming our children. Are they a failure? Are they a success? Are we naming them according to their God-given gifts? It's so powerful. And so we have a choice today, you and I, to use naming as an instrument of healing and hope for people, or we can use it to tear people down and to make us look better. But I would ask all of us today to be conscious of how we use names for people. Anyway, it's good to have you with us on this Monday Morning Muse, and I will have the Praying with the Eyes podcast, which is now finally finished off the Three Amigos, and that should be up today. I'm sorry it didn't come out on last Friday, but with the men's retreat, I didn't get a chance to get it finished. That should be up today, sometime today, and you can look for that at the Praying with the Eyes website, prayingwiththeeyes.com, as well as daily devotional blogs there. I look forward to being with you in our next Monday Morning Muses.